Hello, Guardians, and welcome to the 38th episode of the Mytho Class Podcast. My name is Longer ProTo, and I'm joined by John, as per usual. How was your week in Destiny been, John?
Well, Destiny 2, and I haven't played an ounce of Destiny.
Let's be honest, who's still playing Destiny 1 at this point?
Maybe the people that are still getting their, keeping their eyes and ears open about Destiny 2 and whether or not they want to upgrade.
I highly doubt they're still playing Destiny 1.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're waiting until
I'm unsure about Destiny
the
2, but I'm
holiday
going to
season.
keep playing Destiny 1.
Right. I'm going to keep playing Destiny 1 and then, see, like, by the time Christmas.
I'm sure the skeptical people have already left Destiny 1 long time ago.
Well, on the subject of this week in Destiny 2, I got, a couple more things to do on my weekly to-do list, but otherwise, pretty much all of my characters are sitting right around like 303, 304. I know your character hit 305, your warlock, and I don't know, just got kind of like a lot of bucket list things kind of checked off for me. I finally got Skyburner's Oath. I got my last Hunter exotic last night. I finally got Lucky Raspberry. And obviously continuing to turn in tokens to Future War Cult. But other than that, not too much.
Sounds good. I mean,
just getting more loot. That's all.
Yeah.
Getting more loot and trying more weapons out. Like now that I'm starting to get more variety in the weapons that I actually want to keep, instead of like getting a weapon at 285 and then 286 and then 287 and just constantly like deleting everything. Like I'm finally getting to the point where now like my weapons are kind of in a like whenever I earn them, they are at a point where I can just keep them. So there's not this like constant I got a blue weapon that I can put into this, or I have a blue piece of armor that I can put into that because, for whatever. So yeah, I'm starting to kind of get a more set in stone loadout when it comes to gear, when it comes to like the mods that I put on that gear. It's still not perfect, but I'm starting to kind of narrow things down for how I like to play and how I like to have my Guardian set up. But how about you?
Well, I should preface what we're just talking about today with we did skip a week, mainly because I was trying to hold out until we could get the raid done, and we still have yet to do the raid. Disappointing, to say the least. I hope to do it sometime in the near future, but at this point, I really can't like hope for much. Honestly, we did do trials though, which we'll talk about later in this episode. But yeah, so I spent the past like 2 weeks grinding out. And I think last time we recorded, I had a pretty slow week. I hadn't played too much. I only had one character, I'm pretty sure. And I subsequently made 2 more characters, Hunter and Titan, and I've been grinding my butt off. And as John said, yes, I did reach 305 my Warlock, which was I didn't expect it to happen because I think at that time I needed like 5 or 6 slots. I needed my power, my bond, my boots, my gauntlets, and my helmet all at 300. The rest of them were 305. But in the span of 3 hours, all those slots got 305, which like blew me away. Like it just happened all like in one day, one sitting. I got 300 and all those different things. So it was pretty exciting. My Warlock is quote unquote done. Which I found interesting. Once you reach 305, some things can drop at 300. And they don't have to be powerful gear rewards. It's just some random things drop at 300. And the difference in like power level can be anywhere between like 295 to 300. Like some things that drop to 295, some things that drop to 300. And I don't feel like there's any rhyme or reason as to when they drop. But I mean, it's making leveling or like getting all the rest of the gear on my warlock relatively easy at 305. So it's pretty nice. But yeah, I've just been playing a whole bunch, trying to get my alts up and doing a whole bunch of faction stuff, which we'll also be talking about in this episode as well. That being said, I think we should dive right into the TWAB for this week.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Nothing too drastic in here, but they did talk a little bit about some sandbox changes coming in the future, where they had John Wisniewski on talking about, yes, they do hear us talking about all these different weapons, and they do know that Mytho is a very popular gun, to say the least. I feel like Mytho has become the choice to long range maps, and John goes to say that they know it's popular, but they really don't think it's like the best gun. Not even like even in just the scout rifle, outside of the scout rifle archetype. So we shouldn't be expecting a nerf on that gun anytime soon. There are definitely some other guns that could see some kind of changes to kind of even out the play field a little bit more. But honestly, I really do think that Mytho is popular mainly because, for one, it's familiar. It's a gun directly from Destiny 1. And also, two, it's easy to get. And three, it usually drops at a pretty high power level. So people saying like, oh, it has high power, I gotta use it. And for the longest time, it was my highest power level weapon as well in the kinetic slot. So for those three reasons, it's just a very popular gun. And yeah, it's pretty good in Crucible, but I do think there are better kinetic options out there. So yeah, I don't think it's all that good of a weapon. I've used it, and I was not impressed by it. Yeah, John, your thoughts on Mytho?
Yeah, I don't think it takes a game. I mean, the John Wisniewski is kind of the head of weapon balancing. It seems he has kind of become the voice when it comes to that. And I will have to say that it doesn't really take somebody like that to doesn't take someone very long to figure out that like Mytho isn't the best option for every engagement. But I will say it is really good in that kind of long sightline range where you're counter sniping. And because you do have a somewhat long range weapon where it does have high caliber rounds again, and I'm not going to say this is a big thing, but the movement speed boost it's noticeable. And the side to side movement then on low mobility characters gets significantly boosted because of that. And again, I think, like you had mentioned, it's a familiar weapon from Destiny 1, and because it's familiar, it's got high caliber rounds back, it's got everything back that it used to have. All of the players that we see right now that have played Destiny 1, they are gravitating towards Mytho because of those things, and because also I think one of the other things is one of the strengths of Mytho. And I mean, really, weapons in the Crucible in general, but specifically with Mytho in Destiny 1, it was a very effective team shotting weapon. I mean, I know most weapons were good at team shotting, but I would say more so that Mytho's strength kind of got boosted even more so if there were like two people using Mytho. Like how do I put this in a nice way? But like Mytho is good on its own, and it's an above average weapon. I have no problem saying that, but I feel like the reason why people tend to think it is even better than what it currently is when there are multiple people using it and they're all kind of feeding off of each other and saying like, oh yeah, it's really good, it's really good, it's really good, because of just the simple fact that usually like two people will peek a corner and then they'll team fire, or if you are two people that end up seeing one person peek, you get a lot of damage in fairly quick, maybe in like 2 shots per person, and then you've already got somebody very low health. I guess the long-winded version of it is that, or the shortened version is that it's an above average gun. I think it's seeing time in the limelight just because of Destiny 1, just like how in the beta of Destiny 1, everybody kind of liked the ease of auto rifles, and then everybody was using auto rifles, and at the full release of Destiny 1, everybody was using auto rifles, and eventually we'll see something else. We'll see something else kind of be the topic or the highlight of the Crucible, I guess. I don't know what it will be, but honestly, as far as a high caliber rounds weapon, I much prefer something like what is it? Uriel's Gift.
Yeah, Uriel's.
And what's the kinetic weapon that I have right now that has high caliber rounds? I mean, honestly, like Scavelock is pretty good, and what's the other gun? Can't think of it right now. Anyway, there's a couple other guns that have high caliber rounds that I feel like are just as good in terms of how good it is in its role. So, obviously you're not going to be challenging a scout rifle at scout rifle ranges with an auto rifle or a hand cannon and win, unless the scout rifle user is missing all of their shots. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, so in addition to talking about the sandbox update coming in the future, which I must reiterate, we do not have a date for, but we do know it's coming. But on top of that, they also talked about a hotfix 1.0.3.1, coming October 3rd. I believe that's next reset. That's coming up Tuesday. Yeah.
Yes.
And there are a few different changes, but the change that I wanted to take note of most importantly was that they're going to fix an issue in which clan engrams would grant Trials of the Nine and raid rewards at only 10 power. Which raises the question, why wasn't that a thing? I thought that was a thing in the first place. I thought that, like, okay, so these are like
that was
the
kind of
high
the whole point.
These are high level, or these are high what's what I'm looking for? These are end game pieces of gear that are very difficult to obtain for a lot of people. So giving them at only 10 power to anyone in the clan served as a means of like, hey, we understand you want this gear, but since you didn't actually do the activity, we're just going to give you at 10 power. So
you can just infuse to whatever power level you're at.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was a happy medium between like, okay, people want access to this endgame gear, but not everyone has the skill level required to participate and complete these high level or high skill level activities. But oddly enough, that's actually a bug, and they were supposed to be dropping at like light level, the current light level. So I'm kind of like unsure how I feel about this. I know we had talked about it last time we recorded 2 weeks ago, but I don't know. I mean, I guess if you are in a clan, you will technically have enough players to do any kind of activity. And I feel like every kind of player is at least decent enough to get 3 wins in Trials of the Nine, or just, keep playing Trials of the Nine over and over to get enough tokens to actually get gear from just ranking up Trials of the Nine. And I guess for the raid, it should be relatively easy enough to just get one completion. And I'm pretty sure, again, I haven't done the raid, but I'm pretty sure there is a way to like farm chests in the raid without actually doing much of the encounters. I don't actually know if that's true, but I thought I had heard somewhere that you can just get the chest without actually doing anything, kind of like Wrote the Machine from Destiny 1, where you could just get the chest without actually playing the raid. I'm unsure if that's actually how it works, but I guess you don't necessarily need to be that good to get gear on these high skill level activities. I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain about it, but I mean, I honestly, that was a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, I kind of thought so as well. But if they're going to be dropping, I would say that if they were to drop at whatever, I don't want to say at whatever level you're currently at, but like at the same level as like a legendary engram, then, to me that's fine. I don't think it should drop as like powerful gear.
Yeah.
So I mean, even still, then it's just taking like one legendary shard and some glimmer out of the equation.
Right.
I mean, it's still giving somebody who hasn't done the content, the end game content, that gear. They're just taking some of the material cost out of it, which I mean, I'm not that upset over.
Yeah. I mean, that being said,
at this point, I'm not that upset.
Right. That being said, which we will discuss a little bit more when we talk about Trials of the Nine later this episode, but there is flawless armor sets, and I'm like guessing, I'm pretty sure that you can get those through these clan engrams. So I mean, if you still really want that like high skill level gear, the Trials of the Nine has a gear set that is only available to flawless players, and also I'm guessing for the same type of deal with the Prestige raid, which we haven't heard much about yet. There's going to be something specific to the Prestige raid, which I'm guessing will be dropping in the clan engrams.
Yeah, they'll probably just give like the normal.
Yeah.
Like if somebody completes the normal mode or gets normal mode loot, then they'll get that.
Right.
In the engrams.
So in addition to other bugs or any other issues going on with the game, there is currently an issue which Bungie is currently tracking, the whole cage stash, lost sector, and planetary chest issues, where sometimes you will open up the chest and nothing will come out. And honestly, at least for the lost sector and planetary chests, I was sure that it was kind of a feature not to allow people to farm too quickly or too much. That you shouldn't be able to just like farm over like for like an hour or longer period and just get loot over and over. And then the empty chest was a sign that, okay, you need to slow down or move to a different planet or do something else that's a little bit more in their sights. But when it came to the cage stash, it's like actually happened like a couple of times to me, where like maybe 3 times where I've opened up a chest and got essentially nothing, which I was kind of upset about, to put it lightly, considering you can get some pretty good stuff from those cage stashes. So now that they're fixing it, I mean, I'm pretty happy about that, but we really don't know when those fixes will come into play. But that will make some lost sector farming very, very efficient. I do believe the lost sectors over on Trostland on the EDZ are very, very close to each other, so it makes farming those very, very fast. So I guess once these fixes come into play, it can become relatively easy to rank up some factions. Yeah, pretty happy about that. I just don't know when to expect it.
Yep.
And also, they've also talked about the faction rallies, which are currently going on right now. Started this past Tuesday, and they're talking about how it's going to end this coming resets, so right before the hotfix comes into play, and it falls with the victory week, where the faction with the most tokens is deemed the victor of the faction rally, and the weapon being offered, the one that's being displayed when you go to that faction, will be on available for purchase for 1,000 glimmer, I do believe. And then the losers will also offer their weapons, but for I think 50,000 glimmer, which is about half, or almost exactly half of your current maximum amounts you can hold. So yeah, I mean, my main is on New Monarchy. John's main's on Future War Call, I do believe.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's correct.
So I personally don't mind too much because Glimmer is relatively easy to farm, and those weapons are available or on offer for a full week. So I mean, 50,000 Glimmer is a pretty hefty sum, but it won't be
But
hard.
keep in mind, there's only going to be one available for sale. So
Is it only one?
yeah,
What do you mean?
it's only the one that wins.
No, I'm pretty sure they're all available for offer. It's just the ones that lose are on or offer for 50,000.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, why else would they offer it for 50,000? You can't purchase it until next week. I mean, they said like you can't purchase any weapons until next week.
See, I thought there was only going to be one weapon sold.
No. The weapon that the faction that wins has their weapon for sale for very, very cheap, only 1,000 glimmer. And then the other ones are sold for 50,000, which is
Okay. So the winning faction will offer the weapon to everyone, but all who pledged loyalty will receive it with a huge discount as repayment for their contributions to their faction's cause.
Yeah.
Okay, each faction offers a powerful weapon, but only the winning faction's weapon will be made available to players.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. I mean, either way, but yeah. So, if you are New Monarchy, let's say I'm New Monarchy, and let's say Future War Call wins, John can get it for 1,000 glimmer, but I have to buy it for 50,000. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
but honestly, I would want Future War Call to win because they have a really good pulse for sale.
I mean, I can't. I would have to imagine that the Dead Orbit Scout is going to be good, but I just don't know how good. Like, it's got the same model as Call to Serve, but how much better can you get than Call to Serve?
Now, is the weapon that's being offered for the victory, is that the same as the Scout? That's just what you can get from Dead Orbit, or is that something special?
No, I'm pretty sure it's special.
Okay, so yeah.
Because I have not received, like, I've turned in quite a few packages for Future War Cult, and I haven't seen anybody post about the pulse.
So is there like a separate pulse, or is that like
no? I
can't get that pulse.
I think the one that is featured is like behind closed doors.
Okay, that's kind of cool. But honestly,
so I think there's like with each faction rally, I think there's going to be like one. I think the like weapons that you are able to get now, they will always be available.
Yeah.
For every faction rally, but there's going to be one that isn't part of the assortment that they are going to unlock each time. So I think maybe in the future, like I'm not sure, but just for example, like Dead Orbit next time they'll sell an energy hand cannon, or New Monarchy will sell I don't know, whatever.
It doesn't really matter.
I'm out of ideas.
But that being said, I mean, as long as you have 3 characters pledged to the different factions, you're gonna get the. You're gonna get the gun for 1,000 glimmer regardless. This becomes difficult when you're a casual player, and let's say you only play like twice or 3 times a week, and you've only maybe gotten your faction, your single character up to like faction level like 3 or 5 or something like that. There's no way you would have like 50,000 glimmer to blow on a single item unless you've just been hoarding your glimmer for a very long time. So yeah, then it does become rather difficult. I mean, it does become like kind of a challenge. Like, okay, I got to really make sure I work towards making sure my faction is the winner, because otherwise I don't have 50,000 glimmer to just toss to a faction.
At which point you just default to Dead Orbit because it's black and white.
But that being said, I haven't looked at the database myself to like kind of figure out what's going on with weapons, but is there, like, let's say, let's say Future War Call, for example, have a kinetic pulse and an energy pulse? Like, does it have essentially two sets of the kinetic energies, or of each primary?
I mean, as far as weapons go, I mean, I really should have looked ahead of time, but for Future War Call, I have the number, which is an energy auto. Then there's an energy scout called Pleiades, Pilates corrector.
Pilates.
Oh my god, I know I butcher it. And then there's the hand cannon called True Prophecy. Aside from that, like and the sniper, Eye of Foresight. But I don't know what else is in the loot pool. I feel like there's one other item in the loot pool for Future War Call. There's like I thought there were 5 weapons, and then there's like the weapon that's on offer.
Yeah, I honestly feel like it might be the case where you get like one of each weapon type from the packages, but then there's another set of 5 of the weapon types behind closed doors, like one of each type that is just unavailable to packages, and those will be on rotation through these faction rallies. That's my guess, because I've ranked up New Monarchy quite a bit. I'm not saying I've reached rank 30 yet, but I think I've received 1, 2, 3, 4 different weapons from New Monarchy. And I'd feel like by the time I've ranked them up quite a bit, and I feel like by this rank I should have received at least more than 4 different weapons. So yeah, it might be just the case where they have a specific set only available through the engrams.
Okay, sorry, Pleiades. My bad.
Pleiades. I'm pretty sure that's a
Pleiades corrector. Definition of Pleiades: the
Pretty sure
7 daughters of Atlas
Yeah.
turned into a group of stars in Greek mythology.
Yeah, I took a mythology class. That's why it sounded familiar to me. Anyways, so yeah, I don't know. Didn't they also tweet out? I'm gonna look it up real fast. But while I look it up, I guess we can move on a little bit. So they did say we'll be returning in the months to come. I'm guessing this is a monthly event along the lines of Iron Banner or something like that.
Okay, so here's something. I apologize for interrupting you, but here we see that, or if you go into like the Bungie weekly update from the faction rally one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what I'll check out.
The mods they show like what is available on the scout rifle for Dead Orbit, pulse rifle for Future War Cult, and the sidearm for New Monarchy. It's first of all, it's high impact frame, slow firing, and high damage. And then it's got tactical mag or high caliber rounds, and then field prep, which is increased ammo reserves and faster reload when crouched. That is Haunted Earth, the scout rifle from Dead Orbit. I just want to go over these real quick. By the way, the rounds per minute is 150, and it's got pretty low stability, magazine of 12, kind of like impact and range are at the top of it, are like high, and then the rest is kind of low. Heart of Time is a 540 round per minute pulse. Got okay stability. It's an Obalon pulse rifle with candle and impulse. It's got steady rounds or tactical mag, and then Dragonfly, which is precision kills create an elemental explosion. And then the sidearm from New Monarchy. That was Heart of Time for Future War Cult. And then New Monarchy sidearm, it's a Suros sidearm called Interregnum. 16, is it? Yeah. Round per minute of 450. That's a pretty stable sidearm. Magazine of 15. The Heart of Time is a magazine of 33. some sights, accurized rounds or high caliber rounds, and then snapshot sights. So, yeah, I mean, it looks like a good sidearm, looks like a good scout rifle, and honestly, the pulse rifle looks better from a cosmetic standpoint than it does from the perks. I'm kind of upset that I did that, but maybe I don't know, maybe doing steady rounds will make it super stable and it'll be Grasp of Malik 2.0.
I'm leaning towards the pulse rifle myself.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, looking at the 12 from last week, which we didn't get to cover, it does show the items you can receive from each of the factions, and each faction does have 4 weapons you can receive from the engram. So yeah, if you do receive 4 different weapons from this faction engrams, then you've received all the different types of weapons from the faction.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. And I don't really know how big or how many of each weapon type they're going to have for the faction. I'm guessing it's like, I don't really
Probably
know.
going to have
I don't
like
really know what to expect.
6 on offer.
Yeah.
Or rather I imagine that there's going to be, I would hope that there's like a rotation where
But definitely.
I
would not want the
like,
same four pieces of 4 weapons next time it comes around. That would be upsetting.
that would stink.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay.
But yeah, actually moving on to like what the faction rally been going on. John, how you been liking it? I mean, we've been playing it for the past like couple days, 3 days.
Yeah.
And how's it treating you? You like it?
I mean, I like the daily events and how they kind of switch it up. I liked the strike objective, I think 2 days ago. And then the lost sector objectives actually were pretty fun on Titan because of all the crates that you got to destroy. There was a hefty amount of tokens from those. Yeah, I kind of like the side objectives. I am not so much of a fan of doing the lost sectors as a farming or as a way to farm the tokens. I much prefer public events just because you, in the process of leveling up from say like the 295 to 300, like you're still looking for exotics. So I would much prefer doing public events because then if you're in a fire team and if you keep hopping back and forth like you would on the European Dead Zone, then as you're hopping back and forth, there's more and more chances to get an exotic if you do the heroic public events. And then if you've got a fire team medallion, that's boosted even more. I think the rewards, I'm not sure what the rewards are per strike. Like when that incentive was not active, I don't know how many tokens you got per strike. But I feel like they should boost that the next time around. I don't know. I like the event. I think it's a nice little PvE activity. It's kind of, to me, it's on par with the Queen's Wrath event, where you kind of gain tokens out doing whatever. There are specific objectives each day, but then you can constantly get more and more and more and more, and then you can kind of get some different gear. I just wish that honestly, like, my only complaint with it right now is just that I wish I could stockpile more of the shaders than what I have right now. And I'm sure once I get past rank 25 or 30, I'll be just rolling in the shaders. But let's see, right now I guess I've got like 20 of one, 30 of the other for future war cult, and then I'm not sure when it comes to dead orbit. I think I've got about 18, 20 shader charges. So I just wish they kind of gave more in the process of ranking up, but I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah, I mean,
About the shaders.
yeah, I mean, they give you a couple every time you rank up. I think you get like 2 or 3 each time you rank up of one specific type. Each faction has 2 shaders available, which oddly enough, they're only blue shaders, yet they're pretty almost on par with legendary shaders in terms of how well or how good they look. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty much along the same lines. I like how they give you the ability to pretty much play however which way you want when it comes to ranking up factions. You don't have to like do strikes. You don't have to do lost sectors. You don't have to do whatever. You can pretty much do whatever you want and get tokens for your faction. Yes, there are more optimal things than the others. You can farm lost sectors, or you could do public events, roleplay events. Those are pretty quick, and how fast you can get your tokens. But I don't know. I'm pretty set in stone when it comes to doing heroic pull events because they're pretty amusing, pretty fun, and mindlessly grinding lost sectors for tokens seems rather boring, albeit very quick. So yeah. No, I'm really liking New Monarchy. It's just like I chose which faction my warlock went on purely based on what gear looked the best. I didn't care what weapons were being sold because I knew I would be able to get whatever weapon I would want, considering I have 3 characters.
Right.
So I didn't really care what weapons were being offered through engrams per faction. I would definitely prefer a pulse from Future War Cult over the sidearm for New Monarchy, but regardless, I'm really liking New Monarchy. Just the shaders are best shaders in my opinion, easily. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Doing a whole bunch of grinding, and it's really pushing. I can tell pushing players to play more. I mean, especially doing public events, doing more Crucible, doing more Lost Sectors, etc., etc. And it's one of those events that just kind of brings players in to just play a whole bunch, kind of like Iron Banner. It's like, oh, Iron Banner is active. I got to go play because it's only available like maybe once per month or so for a whole week. So you definitely see an influx of players during those time periods. So it's pretty nice. But there is kind of like a kind of debates or kind of a little issue going on right now with the whole faction rally thing. And that's once you reach faction level 30, which is relatively high, factions no longer give you weapons or armor through the faction engrams. It's only shaders. I don't really know if it's any more shaders than like 2 or 3, or like once you reach rank level 30, you get like 5 shaders per package. But once you reach level 30 with a faction, which is unavailable to be checked in game, unfortunately, you only receive shaders. And some people are kind of upset about that. They want to be able to grind mindlessly just to receive any possible thing. Like, oh, I haven't received my full set of armor from this faction yet. I want to be able to keep going. And they're upset they can't do that within the first 30 packages, which is kind of crazy not to be receive all the different armor pieces in 30 packages. But I guess I can't really complain because I haven't really gotten the helmet from New Monarchy yet. But that being said, I honestly feel like these people need to realize that this isn't a one-time thing. This is coming back every single month, or at least, it's seeming like that's going to be the rotation of this event. So it's not meant to be done all in one time period. Like, yeah, you're not going to be able to get every single thing, but that wasn't the goal in the first place. This is going to happen multiple times. So people getting butthurt about not being able to get everything and the first time faction rallies are coming out, I just don't understand it. I understand the whole wanting to like have everything and have it quickly as possible, because that's kind of the mentality of a Destiny player. Like, oh, I have this thing, and it's kind of like people want to get things as quickly as possible, or first, or before someone else. So not being able to get everything and being kind of unable to get everything because they've grinded too much kind of grinds people's gears. So I can understand that, but that's still no reason to get really upset because they're, telling you, okay, you've played enough, but there's no reason to like go to faction rank 60 or 90 in the 1 week span. And they still even give you the opportunity to grind out shaders, which is another big reason why people chose the specific faction they pledged to get the shaders. So they at least give you the opportunity. And considering the whole shader gate that happened a couple weeks ago, I feel like that's pretty nice. So, but otherwise, I just don't think people getting upset about the whole faction rank 30 thing holds any water. John, your thoughts on it?
Nope, just ditto.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, just briefly, like, yeah, I like people are going to want to grind. The people that are going to grind Destiny are going to grind it to the point where the casual player says, where do you find the time? And I am kind of becoming numb to the I'll say like the hardcore. I don't mean hardcore as in like how passionate they are, but I'm in how many hours per week somebody will put into Destiny 2. I think there are some diminishing returns where, like, yes, if you play 100 hours a week, you can probably make a little bit more progress than somebody that plays maybe an hour a day at most. But your progress starts to go down like a lot if like both players end up completing the same number of milestones, but the person that plays for like 100 hours a week is hoping to get exotic engrams. So anyway, I just kind of agree. Just guess let's just move on.
Yeah, so another topic of discussion that kind of occurred this past week or so and was kind of brought into popularity because of Datto making a video talking about his opinions on Nightfalls and the timer being involved with them. And it brought into discussion whether or not the whole timer being on Nightfalls, making them a speed run, if that, was actually a good idea. And some players voicing the opinion that it was only for the hardcore, or the hardcore speedrunners, the hardcore players that have all of the time and the skill level required to complete these Nightfalls. And Datto came out saying that no, these aren't that difficult. You could be really casual about it and still complete it. Yeah, but it does make it difficult for a solo player, but Nightfalls were never really supposed to be easy for a solo player. They're meant for cooperative play. But yeah, John, your thoughts on the whole Nightfall timer thing?
I mean, I read most of what was said on the back and forth, and I even watched Datto's stream where he was unusually sarcastic and kind of bitter. And I have to agree that, especially for a casual player who maybe doesn't get to play many hours a week, the Nightfall is probably going to be an end game activity, especially for like a one player who can use guided games to then play the Nightfall. So I will agree that the timer, it really is not that big of a deal. Not everybody has to, like, not everybody is going to finish the Nightfall with 7.5 to 9 minutes left on the clock. And there's no difference really in like rewards, in significant rewards. There's no difference between somebody that finishes with 5 seconds remaining and somebody that finishes with 8 minutes remaining. You get powerful gear from completing the Nightfall, and then by going to Zavala, you get even more powerful gear. So, specifically with the Exodus Crash Strike, yes, I agree that the final boss area is not the easiest boss fight in the world. And especially with the Nightfall, where I feel like teams could easily wipe, like have a team wipe, and then you have to respawn, and then hope you can res your teammates, or and then the modifiers too, where it was kind of a take on Destiny 1's exposure. That didn't help either. That the only way that you could get health back was either through a healing rift or by picking up the restorative light. And with the time bonus too of the anomalies, I don't know, the first time that I did the Nightfall, I failed. Like we took longer than the recommended amount of time. But then the second time around, with the same group, we decided, specifically on Exodus Crash, we took a little bit more time to look around for the anomalies, and then we ended up completing it. And we probably had the same pacing both times. But we found more anomalies, and we didn't, team wipe as many times. So, but then again, I'm probably in the... I don't want to call, be, full of hot air and say that, I'm a great PvE player, because, I would say I'm above the average, but I'm not that great. And I didn't feel like... I didn't feel like it was an activity that really tested my PvE skills. It was just, kind of like Destiny 1, where you would get kicked to orbit for the Nightfall. It was just one of those things where you just had to make sure you didn't die, and you played a little bit smarter, and in some cases maybe take a step towards the passive direction, and just not not try and be so aggressive and just all carefree when you were going through the Nightfall. I don't know. I think the main reason why it was such a hot topic was that because Datto is well known for his PvE content, and because, let's be honest, his group was the 8th raid team for the Leviathan. They finished in 8th, which I would have to believe that's in the top 1% of people that attempted the world first. I don't know. But I think that, he's kind of right in that there's not... that for the most part, Destiny 2 caters pretty heavily towards those that can't play 100 hours a week. And it does cater to a more casual audience than, say, a game like World of Warcraft. And some of these things that are coming up, like the Nightfall timer, probably the Prestige raid, is somewhat flawless with Trials of the Nine, the Prestige Nightfall. Some of these things are steps towards challenging the 1% players or the top tier of players. And I think that if some of the most vocal people or players in the Destiny community feel that they should be able to complete everything, but by the same token, they don't want it to be really, really, really difficult. And so you've got a serious gap where it's, well, I want things to be challenging, but like I should be able to obtain everything. And I don't think you can have both.
And I feel like a lot of people were upset about it when Dado brought it up because he is known for wanting to make Destiny harder. He specifically says like he loves the challenge. He loves getting like his butt kicked when it comes to Destiny. So people got really, especially when it comes to Dado, they really understand that he wants it more difficult. So it's like, oh, Dado's saying, oh, the timer is not that bad, so it must be like a difficult thing. And like, why would you say that, Dado? It's really bad for casuals. And I will have to agree. It doesn't really pander towards the casual player, but that's what Guided Games is for. Guided Games is made for help for those like top tier players, helping out those people that don't feel like they have the skill level required to do something difficult like a Nightfall. And that being said, I also feel like the Nightfall is something that kind of, it can be difficult one week and then easy the next week. I mean, yeah, the whole Exodus Black strike with the modifiers that it had.
Exodus Crash.
Yeah. Did Exodus Crash? Okay.
Yeah.
It was more difficult with the modifiers that it had that week, and I can't say that it will be even harder with a different set of modifiers or even easier with a different set of modifiers. But I can expect without the modifiers that it had that week, it made it with the modifiers it had that week, it made it a little more difficult than just running the strike normally. A lot more difficult. So it's going to be a week by week basis, and who knows? We could get it again with a different set, and it's like, oh, this is something that people can solo relatively easy. We don't even know. But yeah, I'm still holding to my guns where that I'm okay with there being things some players just aren't good enough getting. We talked about it last time we recorded about, it's just some players just aren't good enough to get things, which is, a pretty crappy way of saying it. It's I don't know. It makes those top 1%ers feel good about themselves, but I feel like Destiny 2 is rewarding enough for even casual players that one little bit of Destiny 2 that they can't access is okay. So, yeah, my thought process on that. But yeah. And also something, John, if you were done with that topic, we can move on. There was something I didn't bring up when it came to the bugs in the game, and it was also brought my attention when Ramlin tweeted out something that there is kind of like a bug on Hunter boots. I'm not too sure if it's just Hunter boots in particular, but
yeah, it's primarily Hunter boots.
Is it on the Hunter boots? So yeah, some Hunter boots, specifically this fireless armor, not granting the recovery it should be giving, but instead giving you resilience. And I've also noticed
which is just like the heavy boots, by the way.
Yeah,
the heavy armor.
And I've noticed this quite a bit too. I mean, I don't have a crazy amount of Hunter gear, but I only am able to get one recovery on my Hunter gear. And it's like, I would like a little bit more recovery on my Hunter. So,
actually, let's just for for the most part, my Hunter has heavy gear, but yeah, for the most part, my Hunter, like right now, like my highest power gear is all heavy. But eventually I want to move towards the survivalist armor because I want to have more of a balanced, more of a balance between resilience and recovery. But yeah, right now, like the only way that I can get multiple points of recovery is by either going down in power, or applying the +5 mods to give me more recovery. And I don't really want that, because I would much prefer to have something like, I don't know, like increased reload speed for my kinetic weapon, or using a Night Stalker, I'd like to have like my class ability come back quicker and my grenade charge quicker and so on and so forth. So I'm sure eventually like I'll have a set for basically every scenario, especially my hunter. Maybe not so much the other classes. I'll just take what I can get. But yeah, when it comes to the hunter, that's kind of been a little bit of a concern of mine, is that the survivalist boots across all boots for the hunter don't give they don't give recovery. They just give resilience like heavy boots do. So
Yeah.
just a bit of an issue
I am
in my eyes.
Yeah, it is kind of an issue just a little bit, because I have been able to push my other classes to kind of like the things I want. I've been able to push my Titan to high recovery, high resilience. Our Warrior is also in the same boat with like incredibly high recovery, but my Hunter is still kind of like stuck with that really high mobility, which, mobility is nice, but I would like, just a little bit more recovery. But anyways, so moving on to one of the final things we're going to talk about here today is also some trials information. So trials has been active for a couple weeks now, actually, but it's just until this past weekend we have got the opportunity to play it. And just writing down the changes between Destiny 1 trials and Destiny 2 trials is that Destiny 2 trials no longer has boons. You only need 7 straight wins to go flawless. Your loadout is locked every match and unlocked after the match completes, so you can't change your subclass or your gear during a match. Player level advantages are disabled, which is shocking to me. You don't get flawless weapons, but you do get flawless armor, and you only receive 1 piece of armor per week per character. And I'm not really too sure about this right now. I thought I had heard it at one point or another, but I don't know if if they match you with players with similar amount of wins. I thought I had heard that they don't, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do, considering I'm pretty sure when John, myself, and a couple of our clanmates played, our final match for flawless was relatively difficult. But it was definitely a higher caliber level of player. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do match us based on wins, but up until that final game, it was relatively smooth sailing. We had very little difficulty coming up to that final win. So I don't really know what to make of that just yet. I had read online on Reddit and also on Twitter that people had difficulties even from the get-go. When it came right out of the gate, they saw people sherping, carrying people in their first game or second game or something like that. So I don't know what to make of it, but it is what it is. So John, what are your thoughts on trials so far? We got to play on Eternity, I believe. I've got to play Countdown. I haven't played Survival yet. The week that it was Survival, I think there was a bug preventing it to be played. So we've only played one game type on one map. But yeah, John, what are your thoughts on it so far?
I mean, I like how you did benefit from being a team and having that kind of communication.
Definitely.
If you did have to split off, and create like a 2v1 or a 3v1 or a 3v2, I did like the viability of like a quick plant and or a ninja diffuse. That felt really good when it came to Countdown on Eternity. Definitely got penalized a couple times from people knowing the nade spots, which is a good thing. Means that there is a skill ceiling that is higher than just going in there and knowing what you're doing with your gun. So
what are your thoughts on the whole 4v4 versus 3v3? Does it feel better with 4v4?
I mean, I prefer 4v4.
Right.
I really do. I think 3v3 was a little too dependent on winning 1v1s.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the status of power ammo when it comes to Trials of the Nine, as opposed to how you had things like Icebreaker or No Land. I do enjoy the focus on kind of the Destiny 1 primary fights. I did enjoy that more.
Definitely.
With Trials of the Nine having kind of a weapon for one range, and then your other weapon for probably some other range. Like, for the most part, I was using Nightshade and Uriel's Gift. That's pretty much what I ran for most of the ticket. I think what Cody or one of our clanmates was using Mida.
And he was using I think he was using a sub along with that. I'm pretty sure.
Right. Probably Foggy Notion, right?
Yeah, pretty sure.
And do you remember what?
I want to say.
I mean, we ran in there with one hunter, me, and 3 warlocks, and honestly, I didn't feel like we were missing anything.
No.
Like, I didn't feel like with the lack of a Titan
No.
that we were like at a huge
And
disadvantage.
I honestly feel like that is just the sign of good balancing of characters. They don't feel like, I don't know if that's good balancing or not, but no character feels like it's truly necessary. I mean, warlocks are nice. They have a rift and they have some decent nades at their disposal, but I mean, Titans also have good nades, and they're pretty quick, and they have the they're pretty mobile, even though they're like a low mobility class. Hunters, I mean, they don't have a class ability that is as beneficial as the other 2 classes, but I still feel like with how mobile they are and the jump that they have, they can do things that other 2 classes cannot do. I feel like each class has its benefit, but I feel like no class is necessary, which I think is a really good aspect of Trials and just Crucible in general right now. So I think that's pretty nice. I mean, if you were done talking about that, what was Sin using? I think he was using. I want to say he was using. Actually, I think he switched a whole bunch. I think he was at one point he's using a pulse, another point he's using an auto, and I think another point he's using a scout. So he was all over the place. But myself, I
remember he ended up using Nightshade towards the end of the card.
I'm pretty sure what I ended up using. I think the first game I used Nightshade Uriel's, but I think after that I switched to Nightshade Last Hope, the 3-round burst sidearm for the majority of the card. And it was doing me quite well. I'm a big fan of Nightshade right now, more so than Nurgle, which was the kind of big guy from the Destiny 2 beta. So, I mean, I was enjoying it. I definitely enjoyed the whole 4v4, the whole team shots, and playing your life was a lot more important in Destiny 2, which I'm enjoying quite a bit. The whole you can't die too many times. You can't just rely on revives bringing you to victory.
Right.
Which
I think the revive tokens were definitely something that kind of bit us in the butt a couple times.
Yeah.
Definitely felt like there were times where we had the ability to continue rezzing, but because we had, say, like 2 people down, or like one, like I'll just use me as an example. Like I would be the first player eliminated, and then somebody might revive me, and then like I would go down and somebody else would go down, and there was only one person remaining that had a revive token.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, otherwise, I'm a fan of the whole concept of the revive token and only being able to revive.
Yeah, I'm a much bigger fan of that as
life.
opposed to just constantly having a revive
train, like killing a whole team like 3 times over, like getting like 6 kills on a round, but still losing. Like that was ridiculous back in Destiny 1.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really liking just the whole aspect of how Trials is playing out right now. I haven't played Survival yet, at least in Trials, but I'm enjoying Countdown. It really does feel kind of like Call of Duty-ish in a sense, and I do have a lot of Call of Duty experience playing Search and Destroy, so it felt pretty good coming back to the whole attack bombs or defend bombs and having those points to kind of like defend or attack. It felt really good, and I feel like the map design really kind of promotes the whole like, okay, the attacking side has an uphill battle to perform, but like if you get that plant down, I mean, it becomes on the opposing team to really bring it to you, which I think is really good, and really cool cool of an aspect to of the game type. That being said, I really enjoy also the reduction in the radar, how much you can see, and it makes flanking pretty powerful. And I pulled quite a few flanks off when we were doing that trials ticket, and it felt really really good getting like two pieces, or just a nice one kill off of a flank. It felt really good, and that was definitely something you couldn't do in Destiny 1 with how big the radar was. Um, and it could also be how unfamiliar some people are with the map right now. So I don't really know, but I'm definitely enjoying the maps and the game type, and yeah, it's really really good. Um, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you noticed this too, John. But the issue with the radar and and sometimes it will look like there are two people up when there's only one person left or something like that.
Yeah.
It
Depending
was
on how bad the connection was, it seemed
I
like
don't know if it was
that was
connection
the
based,
issue.
but like it would. So the whole pie radar of Destiny 2, it would show someone in your close proximity, but there'd also be like a red line on your outer proximity to show that okay, there's one person close to you, but there's also one person kind of further away, like the peripheral of your pie radar. And it would for me sometimes show there was a person in my close proximity, but also in my outer proximity as well, even though it's only just one person. I'm not too sure if that's just how the radar works in Destiny 2, or there is some lag going on, but that made me think that there were two people when there was only one person on a specific area of the map, and it really threw me off guard when it came to doing some gunfights, and I was positioning myself for two people as opposed to one person. So I don't know if that's an issue or just like how the game works right now, but I'm not a big fan of that. Otherwise, I'm definitely enjoying Trials, and I'm looking forward to playing it this weekend. I'm pretty sure it's Countdown again, but on Emperor's or Spite, the new map that became available after the world's first raid completion, which I'm a big fan of the map. I've played it quite a bit, and I enjoy it also quite a bit. I think it looks like a traditional 3-lane map for the most part. Maybe 4 lanes. I don't really know how to describe it, but pretty good map. I'm looking forward to playing it. Hope to do so. If not for a raid, we just can't seem to get 6 people together to just do a raid. But 4 people, easy enough, right?
Yeah, sure.
But I guess we should close out here on some minor discussion here. So we wanted to just kind of have some back and forth on what our favorite exotics are. I'm not too sure if you still have that written down, John, but
Oh yeah, I still have the notepad up, which
yeah.
oddly enough, it has my joking blue mic ad read that I still have on my desktop, along
Yeah.
with so many other things
Right.
that are months old now. So yeah, I'm liking a lot of the hunter exotics.
Do you want to start weapons first, or you just want to go to you want to divvy up in terms of
I mean,
class or
I'm
weapon
gonna be
types?
real quick when it comes to the armor pieces.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have some suggestions for the weapons. So first of all, just very obvious. I'm liking Celestial Nighthawk. I'm liking Raiden Flux. I'm liking Orpheus Rig for the respective classes that they buff. Gunslinger, Arcstrider, and Night Stalker. But I feel like Lucky Pants and Mechaneer Trick Sleeves.
So bad.
Yeah, they're kind of gimmicky. Like I understand the kind of buffs that they're giving, but I
They
don't
pander to a
agree.
specific game or a play style, and you want
Right.
exotics that help you out all the time or give you bigger buffs than just like basic
Right.
handling or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily just get that from a mod.
Right.
Or depending on whatever weapon you're using. I feel like the Stompies is trying to be a discount Bones of AO, which I'm not too happy about. If you want to put in something like Bones of AO, just put in Bones of AO. Whatever. Dragon's Shadow is an interesting selection. It's more of like a passive buff, I'll say, in the form of an exotic. Kind of wish there was something else to it. And then I wish there was more information on Foe Tracer. I I kind of wish in a in a very basic sense that Foe Tracer like increased your damage the lower the health bar was, and it wasn't just a simple or it was a simpler buff like that, as opposed to like, oh, it's only low health enemies, and like this scenario, this scenario, this scenario, this scenario, kind of like fairly specific kind of hidden buffs. But when it comes to the alt characters, the couple of things that I'm enjoying using are Nezarec's Sin for the Warlock and Crown of Tempests. Both of those really have kept me, like with Nezarec's Sin, I've been keeping a Void weapon pretty much glued to the Warlock in both slots just because of how much I like it. And typically I'm running a Void Walker with that one, and similarly, Crown of Tempest, I'm running a Stormcaller. And then for the Titan, I mean, really, I'm just using legendary gear, but if I am using an exotic, it's probably Mask of the Quiet One or the Doomfang Cauldron gauntlets. So Mask of the Quiet One is the helmet, Doomfang Cauldron gauntlets. And then, I don't know, because of Xur selling it, I gave it a second try. I do kind of enjoy Hollow Fireheart. But yeah, I'm primarily focusing on like using an exotic with my Hunter, just because for the most part they are fairly easily like swapped in and out for me. Depending on what I'm doing, I feel like I can fairly easily like swap to an exotic and adopt a specific play style. It's fairly seamless to go from like one exotic to the next, or like a fairly concrete buff that I can understand and apply to whatever I'm doing.
Yep. And did you want to talk about exotic weapons or?
Yeah, just briefly. I must say I am liking Cold Heart. It's been growing on me. And then also Merciless, because of course. It's just like being able to get a fusion rifle to do the things that Merciless does just
feels good.
I really like that.
I like
oh,
it
yeah.
feels good.
It feels really good. And then I just wish that Darcy and the Fighting Lion could get some buffs so that you didn't feel like you were putting yourself at a disadvantage by equipping those weapons. Just my 2 cents, though.
Yeah, so when it comes to weapons, it's weird right now. I just don't feel too attached to any one exotic. I had liked Sunshot quite a bit when I first got it. It was fun, enjoyable, but I never really used it all that much. And Warcliffe Foil was nice when I first was using it, but I feel like there are better options in terms of just killing things and doing damage. Just kind of like the Galahorn in quotes of Destiny 2. It's nice, it's good for killing ads, definitely. But when it comes to just a exotic in the power weapon slot, I'm definitely leaning towards Merciless. It's definitely my favorite weapon, exotic wise so far. It definitely feels really good, and it's just in terms of single target DPS, it's like unmatched. I feel like Cold Heart might be coming close to that in terms of just with how much ammo it has, but yeah, I really like Merciless, but that's really the only exotic I really feel like I can fence around between my characters and like use at all times. But in terms of armor weapons, or armor, my classes, of the armor pieces I do have, when it comes to the Titan, I'm a big fan of the Mask of the Quiet One and Doomfang Pauldron, both ones that John and I talked about. I do also want the extra melee distance gauntlets on my Titan. I don't know what they're called. I should look that up. But it looks pretty good in the Crucible. It really buffs your melee distance, bring you kind of like Warlock melee distance from Destiny 1, something like that, something crazy. But definitely pretty good in PvP. I would like a pair of those. A hunter, I mean, I can't say... Synthoceps, yeah. I really want those in my tie-in, but... hunter, I can't really say too much about Orpheus Rig. It's just really, really good. And I just feel like... if you had to choose one exotic on a hunter, I feel like Orpheus Rig is just the one exotic because it's just so good. Being able to tether and instantly have your tether back is just insane. And it feels really good too. It's just like, oh yeah, I just tethered a whole group of enemies, but I just got it again. Unless you do some things that it just seems kind of crazy. And when it comes to Warlock, I'm a big fan of Eye of Another World. Network Sense pretty nice for PvE, but in terms of PvP, Eye of Another World becomes its own kind of thing where I was doing a little bit of reading, a little bit of research before the recording today, and Nezarec Sin, to reach the same level of benefit as Eye of Another World, you need to kill 3 people every minute or so, and can be kind of difficult depending on the game type and on the map. Eye of Another World gives you a basic, just baseline buff to your abilities, and if you combine it with, let's say like a Void Paragon mod that gives you a straight buff to recharge rate on your abilities, if you're a Void Walker, combine that with Eye of Another World, it reduces all of your cooldowns by 17 seconds, but not your super. And that's a baseline buff. You don't have to worry about getting kills. You just worry about using whatever weapon you want and playing at your own pace. Nezarec Sin's only really useful when you use your Void abilities and your Void weapons to get a lot of kills very quickly. But Nezarec Sin is definitely really good in PvE. So otherwise, that's all I really can say for when it comes to Warlock. I mean, I haven't really played enough with Transversive Steps to say whether or not I like it all that much, but otherwise it's really all about the helmets for me when it comes to a Warlock. But yeah, I think that's about it. I'm not really going to say too much about the other exotics, but those are my favorites so far. But yeah. Anything else you want to talk about, John, before we call it quits here?
I think that's it.
All right, guys. Hopefully next week we can talk about Raid. Not going to jinx it, though. But yeah.
You already did.
You can find me, Longer Proto, on Twitter at iProto, or on Twitter or on YouTube at Vision Proto. And John, what about you?
You can find me at Flux from MC on Twitter, and usually playing with you.
Yeah.
If you catch us in the wild.
Maybe we can guide you through a nightfall or something.
Hey, maybe.
But yeah, that's all we have this week for you guys. See you guys next week.
Goodbye.